Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm just back in the car after a day in the gym. Um, Today's my heavy day of training, but I wanted to share a story with you all, including, just some appreciation to people and talking about my kind of situation the past 24 hours and how I handled it, why I handled it the way I did, and how you all could possibly apply this to your own training and life kind of moving forward. So, basically, for the past month or so, I've been struggling with like allergies, I guess you would call it, but this tight breathing sensation in my chest in select occasions. So basically, it's always after a heavy day of cleaning around the house, or, I always clean the bathroom. That's kind of my thing that I do around the house. And anytime I do that, I've lately been getting this really tightness of breath and heavy breathing. And, it's one of those things where it's annoying for sure, but it seemed to have been escalating over the past few weeks. And it got to the point where yesterday, my fiance Natalie and we put up the Christmas tree at our house, our apartment, and like as we were putting it up, I was getting this raspy, tight breathing sensation in my chest, and it's annoying. I started to feel kind of sluggish, and I was having less fun because I wasn't feeling super great, but it kept just escalating this time. I don't know if we just stirred up so much dust and everything from opening the boxes and getting out the ornaments, which had been sitting in storage for a year. But basically within an hour or two, it was so tight that I was just definitely not getting in as much oxygen as I was getting out. And I was like sitting there watching TV with her after we were finished. And I was starting to like feel lightheaded and like I was going to fall asleep because I wasn't getting enough air. And kind of the problem with the situation was you don't get enough in per breath, which makes you want to breathe faster, and it would almost exacerbate the issue because there was this like tightness and I could feel it pulling in on my neck and upper back. So I kind of fought through it. That's my general first response to things like this, or if I'm sick, I'm just like, I'll get over it. And keep in mind, it started around 7, and then we go to bed at 11, and I lay down, and I just cannot catch breath laying on my back. And like, I'm just struggling to get air in, basically. And she fortunately convinced me to go to the emergency room because she was just like, this is kind of scary. I don't want anything to happen to you. I was being a little bit stubborn. Like I said, I always lean back on that idea of like, I'll be fine. I just want to go to sleep. It had been a long day of work at that point, and I just really did not want to go out again. It's 11 o'clock, long day. I know I have heavy training today, which was tomorrow at that point, and I'm being stubborn. I'm like, let me drink some hot water or something to try and loosen this up. Well, long story short, nothing fixed it. We did go to the emergency room at like 12:20 or something like that, midnight, which is a huge pain, and props to her for going with me and being supportive. I just kind of felt bad. She was going off to look at wedding venues today, so she had to get up early as well. But we got there because this was not getting better, and it was like, we've got to solve this issue, basically. And so long story short, my experience here at Uniontown Hospital was excellent. Everyone took great care of me. We got an IV in, And that's something that I should note. If you're a drug tested powerlifter like I am, you have to be careful what drugs they put in your body, even if you're sick, because those could be on the WADA anti-doping list. So I'm always like anal about like telling the doctor and being like, hey, I have this list. There are things that I cannot put in my body, and we have to make sure that those, like, we can't use those things, basically. So we did do some research. We found out that the corticosteroid, which, to be clear, that is not an anabolic steroid, that is anti-inflammatory. Basically, it's like what you would use in an inhaler to relieve your lungs, was legal as long as it was outside of competition. Like, you couldn't pump this into your veins the day of competition, which makes sense, not a big deal. The doctor was great about working with me with that. And I will say I got a chuckle because, like, on her way out, she was like, I do have to ask you, are you on any sort of anabolic steroids, like testosterone? And she said, you'd be surprised. I'm like talking to guys and they just mention, oh, by the way, I'm on these things. And I kind of chuckled. I was like, no, that's part of why I have the testing regimen, that I can't take some of these other things. Obviously, I'm not on hard anabolics. So I got a chuckle out of that because she was like, okay, are you sure? It's like, yes, I'm sure. I'm not on those things. And then we move forward, and she was great. They did blood testing on me just to make sure. We had a feeling it was some sort of asthma attack or allergy related thing. But, they wanted to run tests. They did an EKG to check out basically my heart function. It was really cool. Also, they did, I guess it was an ultrasound to look at my heart. Said everything's perfect as far as function, no fluid or anything like that. And my blood test did come back. And this is another thing I've heard of, and I want to pass this on to you all. She mentioned that my creatinine levels were elevated, which normally, just some background, creatinine might be something a doctor would look for, I'm going to get this backwards, I think it's kidney function. It might be liver, but I'm like 90% sure it's kidneys. And if a normal person would have elevated creatinine levels, then that would be a sign of like kidney failure. And props to her, because my instant rebuttal was, oh, I take creatine. And if you supplement creatine, a byproduct of that is creatinine, which could be a false flag for something like kidney failure, right? And it's not correlated at all. But good on her, because as I was going to say that, she said, but that could be a product of muscularity and things like that, which is true, right? Your muscles store creatine and you use creatine. So I was really impressed that she could recognize that. And of course, she should be able to. She's the doctor, but doctors have so much on their plate that something like creatinine, looking at kidney function, may be overlooked when thinking about supplements or muscularity. So I really was impressed with that and kind of the bedside manner there. So long story short, I walked out of it with that basically anti-inflammatory, and then I got a prescription for an inhaler that I've got to go pick up. But and I know this video is running a little long at this point, but I just wanted to mention here, what is it? Right now we're about 12 hours out, because I got out of the hospital at like 3:45, which means we got home at say 4 and then didn't get to bed till 4:30. So I had a heavy day of training, so I slept until about 9, got me about 4.5 hours of sleep. But that's one of those decisions that you have to make as an athlete. It was tempting, right? I was so tired. I was beat from the breathing episode and just being up so late. Motivation is through the floor, and you're like, can I go to the gym and do this? But I just wanted to stress to you all, even on a quick turnaround like that, you can go to the gym. And even if you can't do everything, so I cut out a couple sets strategically. I knew my work capacity was going to be down, but I got the work done. And just by going and getting work done in the gym, maybe it wasn't the best day, but by getting it done, you keep that momentum and basically habit in your brain of like, I cannot miss a session. And that's been the story of my training career for the past 10 plus years. No matter what happens, I go. It might not be the perfect training day, but I go and get the work done, because in the end, it's those little Legos, you build that with the momentum, and that's how you build your total to be really big. So I wanted to share that with you all. You probably saw some training footage around of my squats from today and maybe some benches and stuff. So I appreciate you tuning in just for this rant and me to share my story. Hopefully it gives you some perspective for the future and how I approach my training, even whenever I have things in my life going on the outside. So thank you all for tuning in. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe as always. And until next time, happy lifting.